Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa and I'm the owner of SusanSurfBlog.com. So as you can see, we are in the greenhouse, and that is because we are going to be planting all of the plants that I grew from seed, which are just behind me here, into our garden. And we recently did a whole garden makeover. If you haven't seen that, definitely click in the annotation above. That is a video you don't want to miss. The transformation is incredible. But with the new garden setup, I meticulously planned where I want to put everything, made sure things were spaced out appropriately, and planted next to companion plants. So I did a lot of research, and I think that this layout will really work well for all the plants that I have. So in today's video, I'll be showing you our garden plan layout, and I'll also show you how I plant everything out into our garden. So before we get to planting, I'm going to show you guys our garden plan, as well as what the garden is currently looking like, because we do have a couple crops already planted. So let's get into it. Alright, so this is the garden plan that it came up for this year's garden, and we have 5 beds. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this first bed here, this is just going to be all tomatoes. They're going to be the larger of the tomatoes. I also have peas growing on our little trellis here on both sides, as well as some zucchini plants. Over here I have some more tomatoes, but these are all cherry tomatoes, so a little bit smaller, but still tomatoes in general. And we have a bunch of different varieties here, as well as some more zucchini. I decided to do all tomatoes in these 2 beds because of how the sun travels in the garden throughout the day. They also grow very tall, and I didn't want these to shade out any of these other plants. So the sun basically comes around and goes like this. So the lower plants are all here, and these grow super tall, and they'll be able to get some sun as well. So those are basically 2 beds full of tomatoes because we love tomatoes. Next up we have sort of our salad / greens bed. So we have cucumber, some broccoli, some onions, carrots, radish, and some lettuce. I planted the carrots and the broccoli around the onions because the onions sort of ward off any cabbage moss or any of those little carrot worm things that can destroy your carrots. So hopefully that'll help them. I also have a cucumber down here, and again it's placed near the back of the bed because it is going to be on a trellis, which will give it some height. And then the radish and lettuce are also here because this area of the bed gets a little bit more shade. So I know they don't like too much heat, so that's why they are there. So in our 4th bed we have a mixture of squash, melons, and greens. So we have some butternut squash here, kale, my attempt at growing watermelon this year. I think that's going to be so exciting. Patty pan squash, we're putting those on a trellis as well. And then bok choy and lettuce. And again, with this trellis, it's going to be providing a little bit more shade to the bok choy and lettuce, so they are less likely to bolt in the heat. And our last bed is the herb garden, and I already have a pot of mint in there, as well as some chive and parsley, and I did some direct sowing a few weeks ago of the rest of these guys. We have some borage, dill, Thai basil, regular basil, and cilantro, and I haven't seen any come up yet, so hopefully in the next few weeks they will come up, but we shall see. And this is what the garden beds are looking like currently. We recently just did our irrigation system, and I will have a whole video on how we did this, but it basically has a little drip system, and it drips water out into the plant's roots. So it doesn't spray it. It's a really good way to conserve water, and the system is amazing and super easy to do. So watch out for my video on how we did the irrigation. So in the first bed we don't really have much going on other than some peas. These are some snap peas that I planted way back, I think in like March or April, and they are starting to take off right now, and they're going to climb all the way up the trellis. I think it'll be so beautiful. And then in our second bed, we don't have too much going on other than some peas. Again, I sowed these peas back in like March and April. This is what our third bed is looking like, and this bed's probably the furthest along. We do have a little trellis that we made. This is all just sort of a DIY. We spent $0 on this, which is amazing. And we are going to grow our cucumbers on this. We're also going to build 2 more for our patty pan squash and our butternut squash. So that is fun. And I have an Instagram reel on how I made that, so check that out if you want to learn how to make this. And then in the corner here we have our onions. These are Walla Walla onions, and they looked really measly when I planted them initially, but now with the warmer weather they are totally taking off and getting nice and big. I also have some broccoli here, and this broccoli has not been doing that well. These little guys have gotten to it. These are cabbage moths, and those little like white butterflies slash moths that you see lay like these larvae, and they hatch and they will just destroy your plants. So that's obviously what happened here. So I'm not sure how well this broccoli is gonna do, but I keep manually removing these worms, hopefully, or hoping that they'll just grow new leaves and kind of push out all these eaten ones, but we shall see. And then right next to our onions, we have some carrot seeds, and the carrot seeds took probably 3 weeks or so to sprout. I was kind of worried about like not seeing them, but they are slowly growing. And next to the carrots, we have some radishes. I planted these way back in March, and I think my first crop is ready to go. In our fourth bed, there's not too much going on. I just have some things placed. I have our butternut squash plants placed here. I ended up growing these from seed, and they are doing fairly well, so we have to build our little trellis first, and those should be climbing and doing well relatively soon, so very excited for that. We also have some kale plants that I grew from seed. These definitely really need to go in the ground and get all of the nutrients from the soil because they're growing out of their pots. They're getting super big, so it is time to plant these guys up today. So that is what the garden is looking like currently. Kind of bare, but I know soon enough it is going to be full and looking luscious and green, and I am so excited for that. We'll start placing them out in the garden. I'm very excited, and I'm curious to see if I planned everything right in terms of spacing. We shall see. So let's go and do that. Everyone, we are back. It is another day, but yesterday I got all of my tomatoes planted, and now I just have to put the cages around them. The garden is looking so good. So these are all the tomatoes, and again, it is a sunny day, so apologize for all the shadows, but it is looking so good. It is looking like a garden now with all the greenery. So these are looking amazing, and I do have a whole stack of tomato cages there. I don't know if I'll have enough. I have 19 tomato plants. I don't know if that's overkill, but we're gonna put the cages around as many as we can, and the rest of them I'll stake up using some wooden stakes. So let's do that.